Hi, welcome back. I hope you had a wonderful week and you're ready for another Insider. Last week we spoke about fraud when someone else's identity is stolen, namely agencies, and we talked about how we could protect ourselves from that type of fraud. This week we will continue talking about this subject. We will continue talking about fraud, but when it's our identity that is stolen, or should I say, how we should protect ourselves in a way that never happens to us. So stick around. We will be talking about simple steps, just like we did last week. Simple steps to protect ourselves from getting our identity stolen and obviously being victims of fraud. So let's go for another insider. So, just like we said last week about all these agencies that sometimes have their identity stolen and have scammers posing as their companies and obviously stealing money from translators, which is a situation that it's obviously not good for the translator that end up doing work for free, and of course not good for the agency that gets their reputation trashed, because obviously people start giving them bad reviews because of those things that actually it's not them as a company that are doing those, but the fraudsters that have stolen their identity. So we've spoken about a few red flags that we should identify in order to protect ourselves from something like that. This week we go a little bit further and we talk about protecting ourselves from getting our credentials and our identity stolen and having scammers posing as us, so as us as translators. And that happens as well. And why? Well, sometimes, and we all know, if you work in this industry, you know that sometimes translators end up working with other colleagues. For example, if they have a huge project, they may ask for the collaboration of another colleague, and that's fine. It is a very legitimate way of doing business, and obviously I agree that you should always disclose that to the client, but that's an ethical issue that we might address in a further video. Today we are talking about fraud. So, because this happens, scammers know that happen. Scammers know that there are translators out there that may outsource work. They may require another colleague to help them out with projects. So it is very lucrative for them to get their identity and start scamming other translators. And that's something that happens frequently. It's horrible. They pose as translators as well. They may get clients on your behalf. They completely trash your reputation. Imagine you, if that is bad, and we've spoken about this, if that is bad for an agency that usually are big companies that have lots of people working for them and thousands of translators working for them, and if this is bad for a translation agency reputation, can you imagine how bad it would be for you, a small business, a translator that works for himself, that out of a sudden gets all these clients telling horrible things, saying that they had a horrible experience because someone else has done that. So one of the things that usually happens with translators, and that has been several initiatives from either pros.com and other translator forums that post blacklists and scam alerts. Pros has a very good scam alert, and they usually send you an email when something like that happens. so you are aware. And what do these scammers do? Just like what they do with agencies, they copy your identity. They steal your CV, they steal your name, they may steal your credentials, like if you have a stamp or anything that you can use to certify translations, such as, for example, in my case, my NATI stamp. They can steal that and then they can pose as yourself and scam everyone else. They can just pose as yourself. They get jobs from other people. They can go and pretend to be outsourcing a project to another colleague, and then obviously the colleague is going to do it because they think it is you, but then they ended up scam, not being paid. To other clients, what they may do is that they may actually pose as a professional translator. They may pose under your name, under your credentials. They get the job and then they disappear, or they do a horrible job. The client pays them and they obviously scam the client with a horrible job, and then you will end up with the bad reviews and all of that. So that is something that we need to be aware. And how should we protect ourselves? Well, this is something that it is spoken about. At least I did talk about this when I was doing my translation course. And I think that is very important that we mention this from the start, so we learn how to protect ourselves from the start. I think these days we live in the technological era, and everyone knows that we should protect ourselves online because nothing is safe online. If you live in Australia and you know the recent scandal with Optus, and a simple hacker, a teenager, just hacked a massive company like Optus, and resulting in the private information from thousands of users being exposed. So this is something that it's out there. It's very complicated these days, and we should do our best to protect ourselves and protect our identities. And sometimes it's impossible. In the case of Optus, if you want a mobile phone with them, you need to provide a certain amount of information, but then you think your information is safe, and then it's not safe because the people responsible for your protection and the protection of your information are not doing their job correctly, and this is what happens. So but that's for another story. This was just to say that the online world may look very appealing, but it's not safe at all, and we know that. So as translators, we need to protect ourselves, and especially we need to protect our credentials and our professional identity as much as we protect our personal identity. It's the same thing, and we need to protect it. Yes, we are a business, but there are a few things that we need to do. For example, I would say that we should protect our identity and our presence online. We are a business, and businesses usually provide their phones, their addresses, etc., etc. Well, you would think this is obvious, but yes. But if you are a sole trader, if you work for yourself, yes, you run your business, yes, you run it as a company, but however, you're not going to provide your home address because your office is not really an office that is open to the public. So therefore, you don't have to provide that address because it is not a public address. It is not a public office that your clients, for example, can just walk in and have a chat with you. That's not the way we do business as translators, and most of us do the same thing. We don't really have a physical address that our clients can go and contact us directly. Usually our business is done via email. I would say that's the best way of getting your contacts out there, is to provide them with an email address. I would sometimes people put the mobile phone, that can also be prone to be scammed, and then you will get all these sorts of calls all these sorts of messages, all these sorts of things that you just don't want. And quite frankly, you don't get much work through your phone. I would say that in 10 years of career, yes, I may have had a few contacts over the phone, but most of my jobs were acquired through email because that's how people contact me. So, this is my personal experience. So, you should choose what you publish or not. For example, in my website, I published that I am in the Hornsby area, so people know I am a translator based in Hornsby. However, I do not publish my address. I chose not to publish my address because it is my personal address. I do not have a physical office open to the public, therefore, I do not have to provide that address to people. This way, I'm also more protected from someone stealing my address, stealing my identity. Another thing, it's your presence online. You need to have on your website, etc., etc. You need to have all the protections you have. You need to have all these SSL certificates. You need to put plugins in place that protect you from attacks and all that, this sort of thing. Another thing you should do is protect your credentials in your CV. I know it was very popular a few years ago for translators to publish their CVs. I remember I even had my CV published on pros.com, and I know a lot of colleagues do the same. Well, once this type of scam started growing worldwide, a lot of translators decided to withdraw their CVs from any platform online or even their website. I remember I used to have my CV on my website and I simply took it out. The reason being is if they already have your address, for example, if they already have your name, now if they have your CV, they can just copy your CV and they have everything there. Another thing that you should, and this is recommended by NATI if you are a NATI member such as I am, but I have the same recommendations from the Chartered Institute of Linguists, which I'm a member as well. However, the Chartered Institute of Linguists does not provide us with a stamp, but you should protect your credentials. Never publish your credentials online. I know it is very exciting when you are admitted to an association, for example, when you become a NATI certified translator. It is very exciting to publish your certificate. It is very exciting to publish the results of your deep trans with the Chartered Institute of Linguists. It is very exciting to publish your membership certificate once you become a member of the Chartered Institute of Linguists or of any other association in the world. However, remember this, when you publish that photo online, it is exciting and a lot of people are going to be excited for you and put a like and comment, oh, congratulations, and that's great. But a lot of people are out there to get as much information as they can to scam people, and they can copy that certificate, they can copy everything that you post and use it for their advantage. So think about it before you think about putting any of your certificates or any of your credentials online. The same with your NATI stamp. Your NATI stamp, a lot of people also take a photo of their NATI stamp and they publish kind of a proof that they are NATI members. You don't need to do that. Your clients can verify your membership at the NATI website. You go to the NATI website, you put the number of the translator rather, sorry, you put the number of our credential and it can be verified. And NATI provides you that information. So if your clients want to verify if you are really NATI certified, they can do it through their website. They don't need to see any copies of your stamp or anything else. Remember that. that is very dangerous. They can copy that stamp and then they can forge any certified translation you can imagine. So think about it. The same way, you should not publish or send, and this is my very personal opinion. I've been in the business for more than 10 years. I have never sent a certified translation in digital copy. The same way, the stamp can be forged, copied, and forged. The same way, it can be done with a certified translation, and that is even easier for the scammer because you will have the date of the translation and you will have your signature. So now they would have your signature. All they need to do is to forge the date every single time they want to use it, and they will be able to replicate that as many times as they want. So be very aware of this and protect yourself against scammers. Another thing, if you are a pros member, I'm sure you will receive emails every single time another scam is detected. It's also important that if you are aware of a new scam, that you communicate with colleagues so we all know and we are all protected against those scammers. At the end of the day, we are in this together. We are a group of professionals, and it's our duty to care for our colleagues. It's our duty to care for our industry and make sure that we don't fall victims for these scammers. Either we are agencies, either we are just translators working for themselves. We also need to protect ourselves. That's why I said last week, if you become aware that someone is stealing an agency's identity, it's your duty to contact that agency and make them aware of that, because it is very damning for them as well. The same way it is damning for you if that happens to you, it is damning for that agency. And obviously, regardless of the opinion you may have about agencies, and I know that unfortunately a lot of translators don't have the best opinion, which I think is a bit unfair. Regardless of what you think about agencies, they are also running their business, and if you wouldn't like that to happen to you, you wouldn't like that to happen to them for sure. So these are simple tips that you can use to protect yourself. Never publish your personal information, never publish your credentials, never publish your CV. And if a client wants your CV, make sure it's a genuine client. Make sure that really it has a purpose for that CV. There is a purpose for that. Usually a private client won't ask you for your CV, but an agency it's likely to ask for that, and sometimes a corporate client will do as well. So if they do so, make sure they are genuine clients. Make sure that's the real deal. And know, with all those tips I gave you last week, with the email, the website, all of those things that really ensure you that you are dealing with a real deal. In the end, I think it is important that you do this because it is protection, and it's something that will save you a lot of heartache, that's for sure, and dollars too. And that's all for today. I hope you liked this video. I hope you really liked this month and these little tips about protecting yourself against fraud, because it is something that unfortunately it's growing, and it's been happening more and more and more, not only in the translation industry, but a little bit around the world and in any industry and in any walk of life basically. And obviously we need to do our very best to protect ourselves against it, because it is a problem, and it is one that may destroy your career, and obviously make you lose a lot of money. So I hope these tips really helped you. If you really have any questions about this that you would like to ask, please feel free to leave on the comments below. Or if you have fallen victim for a scam like this, either you were contacted by a fraudster, pretending to be another translator or agency, or if you are, or if your actually your identity has been stolen and you had to deal with all of this, please share your story. It is always important to learn from real stories and learn from the people that actually went through it, so we know how damaging this can be, and also we know how we should protect ourselves by knowing what other people have done, because sometimes you do your best and you think you are protected, but scammers are very elaborate and they know exactly what to do. So if we share our experiences, we become better at protecting ourselves. So if you have gone through a situation like this, or if you know about something like this, please share with us. We'll be very, very happy to respond and to talk about your experience as well. And put a like on the video and subscribe the channel with a little click on the bell, so you get a notification of a new insider every week or every fortnight. As you know, until the end of the year, there's a little disruption in our channel, and the frequency of videos has changed a bit. This will be the last video for October, so we will have another 2-week break, and I'll be back in November with exciting news. So have a good break. See you in 2 weeks, and see you. Thank you for watching. Bye.